Hello, it's Jang here with a look at a Mega Bloks Call of Duty set. This is the Combat Fighter. It comes with 652 pieces. The aircraft itself is based off a Harrier 2 jump jet design, and I'm not at all learned in the many variants of these craft that have been made since the 1960s, but it's definitely a Harrier 2 based on the shape of the cockpit, and from the shape of the nose I'd say that most closely resembles one of the first British variants of the Harrier 2, not the original Harrier, the Harrier 2, the GR5. However, the craft simply showed up for purposes of this set in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and also showed up in Modern Warfare 2. And this looks very much like what you would see in-game. I think they've done a fantastic job of putting this together, including angling the wings down, which used some very large angled pieces to actually get those wings to be very sturdy and to hold on at that angle without using hinge pieces or anything that could change and move around on its own. The set does use a new canopy section which was developed specifically for this model. You can see a little bit of a hint of the main turbofan blades there at the front, although if you quickly go back and forth between the two, you can see it's actually two round pieces. Almost makes it look like it's a twin turbofan there, but it's really intended to be seen mostly from one side at a time. And there you can see the angle of the wings. Also has pylons for attaching munitions or drop tanks as you wish. Has the full complement of landing gear, and these are, interestingly enough, all retractable. So your wing gear simply fold back. That's very basic. And then your nose gear folds in. It actually attaches with a couple of studs towards the front, but then you free it from that. Folds in, has a little landing light on it that folds in and goes all the way up inside of there. I think I didn't fold it quite enough. There we go. Now it's all the way in there, and then you can close the bay doors all the way up, completely hiding that away. And then over here you've got your main weight-bearing gear at the rear that also closes up and has closing bay doors. This clear stand is not included, but with the craft elevated you can see just how sleek it looks and how realistic and believable it looks once you retract all the gear away. Tucked up under the wings are also rotatable ducts, so you can put it into a vertical or short landing and takeoff pose. And here we can bring these all the way down to the full vertical position for the fan in the front, and then for your main jet exhaust back here, these can also be rotated, and it's just on a little swivel, so you can bring this all the way down completely vertical if you want. Also notice that when you bring this thing down to the ground, it has a slight angle towards the rear, just like the real thing does. I don't know if it's the proper exact 6.5 degree angle, but visually it looks pretty close. And they've gotten all of the gear lined up just right so that they're just touching all together, and they're really spreading the weight across the whole craft. And look at the nose gear up there. Just look at that closely. See, semi-pneumatic tires also for the rear one. Semi-pneumatic tires, so it has a little bit of grip on the ground. It's not going to slide around. It's real rubber, so it sits perfectly. Now most of the surface of each wing is comprised of a single large plate piece, so there are no movable control surfaces here, but you are able to change the angles of the elevators, which actually stick up just a little bit too much and they seem a little bit small, but it is just one additional little thing that you can change on this. Probably one of the more impressive elements of the build is how they've gotten all of these lines to be tucked up pretty close to each other. The use of different angles of pieces just make this feel very smooth and just fits together so well, even though it's going along strange angles on multiple axes. It's still nice and tight all throughout there. Returning to the front, the canopy slides back like so. Pilot is included. It is a pain to get the pilot in there to hold on to the control stick. You have to really go through some gymnastics. I found the easiest thing to do is to remove the control stick, remove one of the arms, place the pilot in there, and then reattach the control stick and then reattach the arm last at the shoulder joint. But he does fit in there, and he does hold on to that control stick, which is able to move in any direction. It's on a little ball joint inside of there, so you can really move that around. And when you don't have a pilot in there, you can just leave it completely centered, so it looks a little bit more believable. Got a printed console piece, which doesn't want to focus. There it goes. See some of the instrumentation that's shown there, and yeah, everything is done with prints here, so there are no stickers on the set whatsoever. Here's a look at the pilot out of the craft, along with the other 2 figures included with this set. Each figure gets a weapon to use with them. They're not necessarily the right ones to use with each, although probably the pilot is the best equipped with his sidearm there. And notice the pilot also has a little bit of printing on the shoulder right there. A little patch is added on there. There's also a print on the top of the helmet that I want to show you a little bit more closely, but each of these is pretty well set up with some accessories on there, and no additional spare accessories are included with this set. And there's the top of that pilot helmet. The set also includes a couple pieces of ground equipment here, step ladder that's set up to help your pilot to get up to the canopy section, up to the cockpit, and also a weapons cart which you can pull along, and it has a couple extra air-to-air missiles and a couple of bombs that can also be mounted up to any of the 4 pylons on either side or either wing. You know, part of me wishes Mega Bloks would stop making sets like this, because I just don't have space to display these things proudly. They look so good and I can't bring myself to tear them apart. Mega Bloks just keeps raising the bar for realism with brick-based construction sets. I mean, you compare this to what was considered state-of-the-art for, you know, just normal sized sets a decade ago, and there's just no comparison at all. This is really approaching, this whole line is really approaching the scale display model kind of level. Obviously we still see studs around and such, but for what it is, for how it's built, actually, you know, how it's built itself is really good and really advanced. So just for what it is, for what it's based on, this is another just triumph of design. And again, it includes really more features than it needs, with the adjustable outlets and the fully retractable gear with the doors that close up and seal fully. I just can't give enough praise to this whole series. Once again, the scale is not perfect. The plane is much smaller than it ought to be compared to these figures, but again, you have to consider what it is. It's meant to be still sold to younger folks for the most part. A lot of older folks are going to buy this and are going to be attracted to this entire Collector Series line, or the whole suite of Collector Series lines. But every single time I go to a toy store or the toy aisle of a place where they have Mega Bloks sets, it's always kids who are getting these sets. So they still have to make them for kids, and if you made this thing to proper scale with the figures, it would be huge, and it would probably cost hundreds of dollars, and it just wouldn't be reasonable. But this is something that parents can still consider getting for their kids. It's not the greatest thing as a toy, to be honest. It's not very durable. Well, I mean, the main build is fairly durable, but it has a lot of little things that can be knocked off. So I don't recommend something of this size and stature for the youngest kids. I think this is going to be more, you know, at least 10 and up, just to get that level of responsibility and care, you know, so that things won't be torn apart and kind of lost too quickly after it's put together. And stuff like that is completely subjective and will vary from kid to kid. You know, some younger kids will be able to fully enjoy something like this, and in some cases, you know, you got to wait a little bit longer before it's really gonna work for them. But whatever the case may be, I think that Mega Bloks has done a really great job with what they're trying to do within this budget and within this size and scale. I'm really happy with this set. Let me know what you think by leaving your thoughts in the comments down below. Be sure to check out the video description for answers to the most frequently asked viewer questions, and I'll be talking to you again very soon.